So what is the deal with these unfollower apps anyway? One day they're working, the next day they're not. Sometimes they kind of work, and some don't work at all. Something changed, something happened, and I'm going to explain it all right here. So let me just jump right in and explain what has happened to our follower apps. And there's other apps connected as well. For me, it was my followers app. That's what was affected for me. And people kind of woke up late March, early April. They woke up in the morning, they went and checked their followers app, and lo and behold, it would not refresh. Or if it did refresh and give them some data, it wouldn't give them all the data that they were used to getting. So what went wrong? Something happened that kind of changed the way that these programs, these apps, the way that they work. And it all started with something called an API. Now, what is an API? API stands for Application Programming Interface, okay? And Instagram has had one since about 2013. What this does is this allows developers to pull information from Instagram, things like your followers, new followers, people who've unfollowed, likes, comments, all the way down to actually pulling kind of information from individual accounts. Developers had access to 5,000 API requests an hour. Okay, so think of an API request like a call. It had access to 5,000 calls an hour where it could call on the API and retrieve data from it. So that was quite a significant amount of information that it could pull every single hour. Developers knew that Instagram was going to be tightening its belt in this area, but they were told that it would start in the summer of 2018 and that it would take until sometime in 2020 to really kind of land at its final resting place. That would give developers lots of opportunity to really work with their programs, work on their apps, and kind of adjust to the new limitations. But then, without notice, in late March 2018, just like that, Instagram put in a restriction and it limited API calls from 5,000 an hour to 200 an hour. That is a huge decrease. That is a huge restriction, a huge limitation. And so while most apps were able to kind of pull a little bit of data, some apps were actually completely blocked. Some of them didn't even get their 200 calls an hour. So I'm going to read a little explanation here that really helped me understand it, okay? This is a little excerpt from Sam Melikarjunjun. I hope I'm saying that right. He's from HubSpot, and he explains it like this. Think of API as two parties or two software systems on opposite sides of the planet. The API is the cellular network that allows them to talk to each other. What Instagram has done here is lower the number of minutes included in their cellular plan. So it's cut their communication down significantly. So these programs were instantly so limited, and the developers were just scrambling to find a way to make their apps run again, and they didn't have the 2 years or so that they thought they'd have. They had no notice at all. And that seems kind of mean. Like, why would Instagram do that? Why would it tell them they had 2 years and then boom, just cut them off like that? You know, it doesn't seem like the nicest thing to do. So it all comes down to this whole Facebook scandal, the Cambridge Analytica scandal, okay? Facebook's taking a ton of heat for this, and I think as we all know, Instagram is owned by Facebook. So Facebook had to very suddenly rein in all of anything pertaining to privacy, and then Instagram as well, because it's associated with Facebook. So how does this affect us? These apps that are now partially working or not working at all, like what does this really mean for the end user? Well, one, your app is probably not working all that great. But aside from that, I think we can expect to see, and some of us have already been seeing it, especially in that first week there, that first week or two, there's been a lot of unfollowing going on. Everyone tends to play nice when they know they're being watched, when They know their actions are being recorded. And so I think a lot of people followed people out of obligation, but really didn't want to follow them. So I think we're seeing a lot of unfollows in this area. And it's kind of unfortunate, but let's look at it this way. Like, do you really want someone who's following you out of obligation, but they really don't like your content and they're really not going to interact with you? I don't know, but I don't really want that. I want people who are going to interact with me. I want a community. I want my tribe, and I want people who are going to like my photos and comment on my photos. So is this such a terrible thing? Well, it kind of sucks. It does. It sucks to see people unfollowing you, especially when you still have an app that sometimes works, and then suddenly you see that you've had some people unfollow you who you thought, were friends. But you know what? That's just social media. People are fickle. We can't take it personally. We need to kind of move on, and you know what? It's going to happen. I think we're seeing a little bit of that, and maybe as these apps come back up and are sort of running a little bit again, then maybe some of that will calm down. Who knows? And how has it affected our engagement? Well, I think something that I didn't really realize before is that there's a lot of people out there who are just using a lot of these programs. They were relying on these programs to do their liking and commenting for them. Some of them are obvious, some of them are not. Some of them are people who, you thought they were your friends, or they're very well respected within the community, but then you find out they are actually using apps to like on their behalf, especially liking. Commenting, I'm not sure as much, but the liking ones are pretty easy to kind of get away with it. It doesn't look like spam. And so I think maybe some of the decrease in engagement that we've been seeing is possibly just coming from some of these programs not working anymore. Some of the people who were regularly liking your stuff, they now have to do it manually. I know some of these apps are back up and running again, so who knows? I'm not saying that's responsible for all the low engagement, but I think maybe a percentage of it has been affected by this whole thing, the limitations that these apps now have. They can't function the way they used to. So moving forward, what do? I say, you know what? Just don't panic. You want real followers. You want real engagement. Yeah, it kind of sucks that you can't always see who's unfollowed you, but maybe eventually your app will refresh and you'll still be able to see that. But we really don't want those people around anyway. We want people who genuinely enjoy our content, right? So let's just get out there and let's just be active in our community on Instagram. Let's like and comment and engage and be engaging, and we're not going to worry too much about this. If the developers are able to figure something out and makes these apps, function at their full kind of throttle again, awesome. That's great. But you know what? We don't need to freak out until then. We can be a community and we can be authentic and engaging without their help. And you know what? Sometimes maybe it's just nice to not know who's unfollowed you, honestly. Sometimes it's so disappointing. Maybe it's okay to have a little break from that for a while. So I hope you guys have a great day. I really hope this was helpful. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. We will be bringing all kinds of Instagram info to you guys, things that are frequently asked questions, and hope to get some information out there to you guys this way. Have a great day.